Tonight on News 5 Live, the Briceño administration reshuffles CEOs in 3 ministries. Chief Executive Officer Tania Santos is transferred to the Ministry of Immigration under the Prime Minister. The government of Belize responds to the Toledo Alcaldes Association's concerns regarding the draft Maya land rights policy. Beltrade's executive director says the controversial Portico definitive agreement did not exist, and a record number of tourist arrival in the off-high season. These stories and more coming up on News 5 Live. You just scroll too fast.
I'm connected. Yo.
I'm connected.
We're connected.
Create the perfect broadband bundle that fits your style with Smart Connect. With the Junior Bundle, get 50% off your national calls and up to 6 gigabytes of data at no extra cost. Get postpaid added for an additional cost of only $25 with the Prime Bundle. Stay connected with unlimited smart-to-smart calls plus 6,300 megabytes of data and free international minutes. For the family, pay $28.13 more and get the Binge Watchers bundle with Netflix. This bundle gives you 4 profiles with unlimited streaming on multiple devices. Visit a showroom near you to sign up and personalize your own bundle combination with Smart Connect. Smart, bringing people together.
V-Bucks and get a chance to win a $10,000 homecation with Benny's. Quality and savings.
Discover a shopping experience like no other at the V Department Store. They carry a vast array of products at unbeatable prices. Elevate your shopping journey with affordability, diversity, and accessibility at the V. Conveniently located at 1745 Coney Drive in Belize City.
These will offer you coping mechanisms when dealing with violent situations.
That is a very simple phone number that you can store in case of any emergencies.
Violence exists in the form of currency rape.
Welcome Marines as the totally new HE member.
We realize that success in agriculture isn't just about land and access to finance. We realize that we have members who have issues of domestic abuse, who have issues of child sexual abuse in their families. We've noted that the barriers and the obstacles are quite different for women and girls than for men. And this is why we decided to take a holistic approach.
Violence against women and girls is an issue for me because I think it is used as measures of control and it is a reinforcement of negative power dynamics. All people, especially women who have been experiencing discrimination and injustice for quite some time, deserve to be afforded physical, emotional, financial, and mental stability and safety.
There are a lot of persons who don't understand the dynamics, of violence against women and girls. And so there's always need for advocacy and education to keep the awareness.
Economic empowerment, that's what we've been focused on day one. We've focused on creating opportunities, economic opportunities for women to establish themselves as independent business owners. On top of that, we've also created and ensured that we create male allies in their families, whether it's their husbands, their partners, and so forth, to understand the rights of women and to also understand and upskill themselves as supportive partners of these women and girls.
We need to educate young men and women within our society today, engage them in a one-on-one interaction, educating them about the different types of domestic violence that we have within our society, and teaching them how ending violence against women and girls can help within our future generation in preserving the future for women.
I believe it's important for persons to be aware of the positive enforcement and policy shifts in that of legislation, because this is what brings about change. This is what brings about the change in people's mindsets, and knowing that there are legislation, there are enactments of bills that advances the rights of women and girls.
Everyone has a part to play. If we see or hear something, we shall say or do something.
We have to stand up and make the changes ourselves to set the example for everyone else.
I will continue to play my part by advocating to end violence against women and girls.
We all need to make sure that we help to fight to eliminate violence against women and girls in our society.
What grows together, goes together. Let's stand in solidarity to fight violence against women and girls.
Everyone has a part to play.
Everyone has a part to play
in ending violence against women and girls.
This newscast is brought to you by the Belize Bank Limited. Our country, your bank.
Good evening and welcome to News 5 Live for Wednesday, January 10th. I am Sabrina Daly. On Tuesday afternoon, Cabinet met in Belmopan, and during the meeting of senior government ministers, it was announced by Prime Minister John Bersenyo that there would be a reshuffling of chief executive officers in the ministries of Immigration, Transport, and Human Development. The transfer of CEOs within those respective portfolios follow the departure of former Foreign Minister Eamon Courtney, whose resignation from the Bersenyo administration took effect at the end of December 2023. With Prime Minister Bersenyo assuming the portfolio of immigration, his new CEO is Tania Santos, who moves over from the Ministry of Human Development. Replacing her in that capacity under Minister Dolores Balderramos Garcia is CEO Adel Katsim, who has been transferred from the Ministry of Transport. In her place is Chief Executive Officer Dr. Gilroy Middleton Jr., who has been relocated from the Ministry of Immigration. CEO Santos has served under Minister Balderramos Garcia since the Bersenyo administration was formed in late 2020. This afternoon, News 5 spoke with the Minister of Human Development and Indigenous Peoples Affairs following yesterday's cabinet meeting.
Let me start by saying that we're very, very sorry to see Tania transferred. I think in the 3 years, and Tania didn't come out of what you would call a social sector background per se. I think it was more on the environmental side. But what Tania has brought to the table of the entire government is competence, ability, dedication, and integrity. So, having said that, we are very sorry to see her go, but of course, this is a government decision. It is and it was endorsed in cabinet yesterday. CEO Adele Katsim will be joining Human Development, and I must tell you that way back, putting on my old lady cap now, way back from 98 to 2003, Adele served in our Ministry of Human Development in a key advisory role and technical role. And I believe that with her experience, she will be able to assist us. And my understanding is that the then immigration CEO goes over to transport. Of course, as a government, we had to consult with each other. The head of government is the Prime Minister, and I guess that is about as much as I can say. But we will be pleased to have Ms. Adele. Again, I repeat, we're sorry for Tanya to have been transferred, but that is the situation. We remain one government, and again, I only want to repeat that what Tanya has brought to the table of the entire government is a level of competence and commitment that is hard to replicate.
Senator Eamon Courtney, as we've reported, has returned to private practice as an attorney at his law firm, Courtney Koyi LLP. He also remains the leader of government business in the upper house. His privileges in cabinet, however, remain unclear. While he was not present at Tuesday's cabinet meeting, there are many questions surrounding the new configuration following his resignation from government. We asked Minister Dolores Balderramos Garcia to explain the new arrangement, since persons in private life do not get to enjoy the rights and advantages of being in cabinet.
I can't speak to it in any detail, but you do know that with then Minister Courtney, now ambassador and head of government, leader of government business in the Senate, he remains at the center of things within the government, you know. I can't speak in detail to the quote-unquote cabinet privileges, but we will certainly be leaning on his experience. I think that Minister Francis brings, again, a wealth of experience and competence to the table, and that basically is as far as I can go. But I would wish to assure the public, if I may, speaking for myself now, that there is no lack of trust, there is no lack of confidence, there hasn't been any erosion in terms of the role that, that then Minister Courtney now plays. Because as a private attorney, or let me put it the other way around, as a government minister, one cannot also be a private attorney and go to court. So that is the aspect that I would prefer to look at, as opposed to the gray area of the cabinet privileges. He wasn't in cabinet yesterday, but if we need his expertise, I am sure, please, and I know that try put on the cap of the Prime Minister, but I am sure that the Prime Minister would seek that assistance. And we, I believe, have the confidence in, let's call him Ambassador Courtney now.
On Tuesday, the Toledo Alcaldes Association issued a stern release denouncing government's draft Maya customary land policy. The TAA's primary concern was that it was not consulted prior to the Briceño administration proposing to recognize only 0.75 miles to 1.85 miles from the center of the village, depending on the size. As such, it rejected the 21-page provisional document. According to the Minister of Indigenous Peoples Affairs, the TAA has jumped the gun on the issue.
They're a little ahead of themselves, because every single iteration or every single version of the Maya customary land tenure policy has been consulted, and we continue the consultations. But it is for the government of Belize to make proposals on which we will consult. I am saying to the Maya leaders, I am saying to the association, I'm saying to the Julian Cho Society and all interested parties, whether Maya or non-Maya, we will consult. And that's the situation. However, there is an ongoing dynamic of a sort of a pull, a to and fro, in which we believe as government that sometimes the MLA grouping, as we have come to call them, I believe that sometimes they get a little ahead of themselves, but it is for government, as I have said from the very inception of this portfolio, which is now 3 years old. From the inception of this portfolio, I made it very clear that it is for government to try to balance competing interests. Now, when we do decide on the extent of the boundaries of a village, which we will, again will consult on it, when we do decide on it after consultation, we are required to consult, but we are not required to give everybody everything that they may wish.
Earlier today, the Belize Indigenous Alliance for Collective Resilience, a nonprofit organization based in Punta Gorda, also issued a release standing in solidarity with the Toledo Alcaldes Association. The organization, quote, urges the government to revisit the drafting process of the Maya customary land policy with sincerity and inclusion, end quote. Notwithstanding that position, the Minister of Indigenous Peoples Affairs went on to say that government has an obligation to recognize the rights of private lands owners.
We will have to recognize private land ownership. So there may have to be carve-outs. I think our legal advisor said that maybe the map might look a little bit like Swiss cheese because you will have to have carve-outs. But please, you're not talking to the expert, you're talking to the minister, but not the land expert. We will have to consult the Attorney General's ministry, our chief legal advisor, Mr. Marshalek, and we will have to consult with the people on the ground. But I hate to have to repeat this, but the Belizean people must know that although we have every respect for indigenous rights and land tenure, the Maya people of the Toledo district may not own the entire Toledo district. And so that is as frank and as truthful as I can put it right now.
In your discussion with the land experts in coming up with this policy, was there any conversation as to a formula how it was arrived upon 0.7 to 1.8 miles from the center of the village?
No, that is not what we said. What was proposed, if I can recall correctly, is a 2-kilometer radius from the village center going out. So you throw the stone in the pond and then it ripples out. But that is a proposal, and we will have to reconsider for smaller villages, and we'll have to reconsider for larger villages. And that is basically what is on the table.
Commissioner of Indigenous Peoples Affairs Greg Chaok is stepping down from that post later this month when his contract with the government of Belize comes to an end. He has been serving in that role under the Ministry of Indigenous Peoples Affairs for the past 3 years and is also returning to private life as an attorney at law. But who will replace him? And how will that office carry on with the work that has been set out by the Briceño administration? We turn once again to Minister Dolores Balderramos Garcia, who heads that government department.
I can confirm that Greg Chaok had a 3-year contract that started in January of 2021. It is coming to an end, I think, around the 23rd or 24th of January. And I can confirm that it was mutually agreed that he would depart and return to his private practice as an attorney at law. And I want to take this opportunity to thank him for his services, his stellar services really, and yeoman service, if I could put it that way, putting the shoulder to the wheel and really reaching out. We thank him very, very much for his service.
Has there been an effort thus far to look for someone who would replace him in that capacity?
Well, I don't believe in hiding things. The policy thinking of our government and my ministry is that we wouldn't be searching for a commissioner. We're looking for someone in the nature of a director. Commissioner sound very colonial, And, you know, we thought that we would go to a director or an office manager of the Office of Indigenous Peoples Affairs in Punta Gorda. So we have one or two technical people who will be there. We are in the process of seeking the replacement, but not in the nomenclature of commissioner, but certainly of a director. And we're looking around because we would have to find somebody who is competent and adequate.
Coming up, Beltrade Executive Director says Portico Port Project failed to meet requirements. We'll have more details when we come back.
The UDP was in office 13 years, and for 13 years our municipalities were neglected. More work was done on one minister's private farm than in our towns and cities. That was the UDP way. Things are different now. In 3 years, this PUP government has done what the UDP did not do in 13 years. Streets in our communities upgraded and paved with proper drainage. Our major roads are being upgraded to international standards. Bridges are being built. In every community across this country, there has been progress. That is a government at work. In March, the UDP will ask for your votes in municipal elections. Let them know that they are not better for Belize. Let them know that their talk is cheap. In March, stick with the plan that works. Stay on track with the PUP.
Save time and money with DigiWallet. Enjoy the power of low fees and rock-solid security. With our newest feature, you can now transfer money from your DigiWallet to any bank or credit union account. No more long nights reconciling. With DigiWallet, you can focus on what truly matters. Contact us today to sign up your business. DigiWallet, the safe, secure, and reliable mobile wallet solution.
management's incompetence and lack of leadership has caused millions of dollars in losses to cane farmers, the sugar industry, and the nation, which will never be recovered. BSI was ready to start the crop season as early as December 15th, but the government, through the Sugar Industry Control Board, imposed a delay until December 28th. When that date arrived, the season still could not fully commence because the government had failed to broker a long-term agreement on outstanding differences between farmers and the miller. This is almost 2 years after they contracted retired PUP politician Florencio Marin Sr. as highly paid so-called mediator with luxurious transportation and other perks at taxpayers' expense. It took 2 rungs of highway blockage, tire burning, and further threats by cane farmers, forcing Briceño to return from a luxurious trip to Rome before a band-aid solution would eventually be applied.
Not even a band-aid, I would say a transparent tape that we can all see through on a gaping wound to try to get past the municipal elections, and then at the cost of who? At the cost of the Belizean taxpayers.
Briceño and the PUP have once again failed Belize. Our country needs new leadership. The time is now.
The second session of a Senate inquiry into the controversial Portico definitive agreement got underway today in Belmopan. That definitive agreement was granted to Portico Enterprises Limited, which is seeking to establish the Port of Magical Belize. This particular inquiry seeks to determine the origins of the agreement between the past UDP government and David Gegg. The agreement was signed in October 2020. Members of the Senate Special Select Committee continue to probe into all documents, communications, and processes that led to the presentation of the definitive agreement to the Cabinet. Today's first witness was Dr. Leroy Almendarez, the Executive Director of Belize Trade and Investment Development Service, Beltrade. The statutory body acted as the secretariat for the Cabinet Subcommittee on Investments that existed under the successive Barrow administrations from 2008 to 2020. According to Dr. Almendarez, Beltrade's role was to take minutes, preparing the agenda, and providing information to the committee members. Dr. Almendarez explained to members of the Senate committee that there are steps that are followed before a project is approved. If the project does not meet the requirements, then it would not move forward. Dr. Almendarez says this was the case with the Port of Magical Belize project.
The next phase then is the submission of the business proposal. The company should consolidate components of step 2 with the following as one of the detailed business proposal. Comprehensive proposal with a table of content. You must have a marketing strategy, the phase and timeline of development, economic benefits, financial validation, environmental clearance, which is very, very important. If it's required that you do a full EIA and that EIA is not conducted, or that is not submitted as a part of your business proposal, then basically the proposal should not move forward. The Central Building Authority as well has its role to play, must give a no objection to this investment, and the supplementary documents, in terms of the guidelines. I joined Beltrade in 2018. These conversations had taken place already. One of the things that I know happened was that in terms of the pre-feasibility, because pre-feasibility and these were things that were conducted. But if you went through this, there were things that were missing. For example, the EIA was not completed, proof of funding. And so therefore it meant that whatever step that was, because you notice it says throughout, it continues to speak about source of funding that has to be ascertained. And so therefore, if it was not, then it simply means that in this case, this project should not have proceeded because there were those things that were outstanding. And our job at Beltrade is to inform whatever investor it is that until you satisfy these conditions, this application does not move.
Would you recall whether or not the Portico investment was substantially or was substantially discussed at the committee level?
The discussion that I'm aware of, and of course after reviewing a minute of, whenever that presentation happened, I could recall that there was a presentation, I think it was September the 4th, something like that, and 2019. And in that conversation, that's where, like I said, the purpose of an investor is to come and make a case to that, or to make a case to that committee. And it had to go through its phases. And like I said, as far as I could remember, in terms of the conversation, there were still those outstanding requirements, the thing about proof of funding and whether or not the full EIA was conducted. And if any entity does not provide those things or is substantiated by its presence in the application, then it should move. In any investment, we need to know that you have the funds to finance it. And upfront, in its initial phase, depending on the level of investment, you either provide 10% or 20% or show proof of funding. The other thing is the possible damage to the environment. And so therefore, it's important, depending on the level of investments and how potentially it can harm the environment, whether or not it becomes just a clearance plan or it's a full EIA that's requested. So it's not a matter of passing a step. I can assure you, from where I sit, here or with Beltrade, that if these things are outstanding, the investment doesn't move. It doesn't move.
So since these submissions were not met in step 4, that means this project should have been at step 3 then?
I believe so. I believe so. And as a matter of fact, they were notified.
During his testimony, Dr. Almendarez was asked whether he knew about the Portico definitive agreement. Not only did he tell committee members no, Dr. Almendarez said that for him, the definitive agreement does not exist.
I believe, and I'm trying to stay away from the mention, because you mentioned a definitive agreement. And I've said to you, I have not seen it, nor have I read it, so I don't know what's in there. And so whatever is in there, I have no knowledge of. But basically to say that under the incentive program, under the fiscal incentive legislation, under the designated processes legislation, there is an assessment that is done. Any taxes owed to government, any taxes not exempted from, you should pay. At the end of the day, it is to trigger development in this country, but the country must also survive.
In the case of whatever agreement was made, insofar as Portico is concerned, that would have come before you entered your position.
Senator, with all due respect, I don't know that any agreement existed.
Okay.
None that I know of.
Would you, and so let me ask, perhaps because I notice you're putting it in that way, you said you have not read nor have you seen the definitive agreement. Would you have any interest in reading, especially in light of in reading or seeing that definitive agreement, especially in light of the fact that you have been called here, and perhaps in order to enlighten us or to enlighten the public, that whatever question is asked, perhaps it might serve you in some way to be able to be familiar with that definitive agreement?
My response to that is, I would be willing to read it, or read anything that goes through a legal process, and through the legal processes, that is how it materializes. In that sense, yes. But if you were asking me to read something that, as far as I know, doesn't exist, then why then would I read it, and to give information on it for what purpose? As far as I know, there is no definitive agreement.
As we've mentioned, today was the first time that the executive director of Beltrade, Dr. Leroy Almendarez, was called before the Senate Special Select Committee to give evidence. News 5 spoke with him as he exited the National Assembly building following his testimony.
My role as the executive director of Beltrade and what we do with respect to investments, this is the kind of information they wanted to gather in terms of process, and I trust that whatever we discuss, really aided the process in terms of the guidelines that are set and how investors should ensure that those guidelines are complied with by fulfilling, those different areas. In the case of that CSCI guideline, there are 7 different, there are 7 steps, and if you don't satisfy the steps, then it simply means that your project could have been delayed.
Indeed. You said during the hearing that for you the definitive agreement doesn't exist. Did you mean back then or no, that it doesn't exist?
No, I maintain, as far as I know, it doesn't exist. I never saw one. I was never exposed to one or anything like that. So as far as I'm concerned, it doesn't exist.
Former Minister Erwin Contreras, did he ever reach you, communicate with you, call you at any point to discuss anything regarding that agreement?
No, there was no conversation regarding that. My interactions primarily were with the chair of the Cabinet Subcommittee on Investment.
So if I were to ask you, based on what you've heard of the agreement itself, would you be able to share with us what you feel of, what you think of it, of the document? Was it a fair document?
Well, I haven't really seen or read it, so it's hard for me to say, but all I can say is where the process is concerned, that any application that goes through a certain process, there's a determination afterwards. I mean, once we have identified that, yes, it's legitimate, it's within the priority, it has economic impact, it will create employment, and whatever request is made and the assessments are done with respect to benefit costs to the country in terms of its impact, but it would not have exceeded anything that was within that application that left. So with respect to the definitive agreement, like I said, I haven't read it, so I don't know what's included in there, and I don't know what would have been granted to those principals had it materialize and then really become effective. So I really don't know.
The second person to appear before the Senate Special Select Committee was Lands Commissioner Talbert Brackett. Brackett took office recently under the Briceño administration. In June 2023, Prime Minister John Briceño told the House of Representatives that 17 parcels of land were signed over to Portico a day before the definitive agreement was signed under the former UDP government. Today, Brackett was asked for details of that land transaction.
Looking into the Portico matter, and so my questions will be specific in relation to some land transactions that were related to that project or became related to that project at some point. The Prime Minister in June of 2023 mentioned that there were 17 parcels of land related to what I think they referred to them as the Portico lands. At some point, those 17 parcels were issued to an individual or individuals, and then they were transferred apparently to Portico. Would that be highly unusual for so many parcels to be transferred to 1 or 2 individuals?
Are you saying transferred from government to these?
That's my understanding, and that's why I'm asking you to clarify that.
Well, I'm not.
So did those come from the lands department to those individuals? I mean, have you looked at the trail of how those transactions evolved to where they became Portico lands?
I would assume that had occurred before I took office as commissioner. And I would also assume that those might just be private lands. So I am not familiar with those transactions.
For the lands related to the Portico project, you are not aware that those lands came from the department. They may have been private. That's what
Not that I know of. It was before I assumed that office, so I'm not fully aware.
You wouldn't have checked whether your predecessor would have been involved in the issuance of those.
Well, I'm not fully aware of the project. I'm not fully, and I wasn't fully appraised of the project also, of those lands that you're talking about, specifically.
After the break, high season kicks off with 16,000 tourists. But first, here's a weather update with data from the Belize Met Service.
The People's United Party has never been about talking. We leave that to those other guys. They were in office for 13 years. They spent billions of dollars and could not even build one hospital. In 3 years, the PUP has constructed a healthcare center in Key-Calker, a polyclinic in Placencia, and a polyclinic in Belmopan. A new hospital will be built in San Pedro and a new hospital in Belmopan. That's a government at work. In March, the UDP will ask for your votes in municipal elections. Let them know that they are not better for Belize. Let them know their talk is cheap. In March, stick with the plan that works. Stay on track with the PUP.
It seems like every other day, we hear of a family member or friend being diagnosed with a serious illness such as cancer, heart attack, kidney failure, or stroke. When these illnesses strike, you want to focus on recovery and your overall well-being. At RF&G Life Insurance, we offer critical illness insurance to help with medical expenses when diagnosed with such critical illnesses, providing security to access quality healthcare facilities and to ease the worry about finances. In case you are diagnosed with a life-threatening illness that is covered by the policy, critical illness insurance pays you a lump sum amount to help you obtain access to quality treatment and medication. Having critical illness insurance provides the financial support that will bring you and your family the security and peace of mind necessary to manage these illnesses. The possibility of being diagnosed can be worrying, but by having a critical illness plan, you could have funds to assist with expenses such as medications, hospital deductibles, childcare, household expenses, and so much more. The right time to plan for the unexpected is when you're healthy. For more information, visit our office today to speak with one of our experienced agents about critical illness insurance. Your health and wellness is what matters most. Take care of it.
Let's take a journey through the core functions of the Social Security Board. It all starts with registering as an insured person, employer, or self-employed individual. Sign up for a portal account to manage your Social Security information online. Just provide accurate information and click Create. This will give you access to a range of services and benefits. Next, your contribution, along with investments and other income, are collected and distributed into 3 funds. This ensures that the SSB fund is securely utilized to support various benefit programs. The SSB is committed to providing essential benefits such as sickness, maternity, injury, and pension. These benefits are paid out to eligible individuals as a part of the Social Security coverage. We help you navigate through life's challenges with financial security. Annual surplus accumulates to grow the fund each year. This surplus is invested into various industries, contributing to the growth and development of our nation. With each passing year, the fund continues to grow. Due to the annual surplus, and interest revenue earned from prudent investments. This surplus, along with reserves, helps to bolster the SSB fund and provide a safety net for those in need. We've arrived at the end of our journey to better understanding how the SSB works. We remain committed to serving you and building a secure future for all Belizeans.
This government's incompetence and lack of leadership has caused millions of dollars in losses to cane farmers, the sugar industry, and the nation, which will never be recovered. BSI was ready to start the crop season as early as December 15th, but the government, through the Sugar Industry Control Board, imposed the delay until December 28th. When that date arrived, the season still could not fully commence because the government had failed to broker a long-term agreement on outstanding differences between farmers and the miller. This is almost 2 years after they contracted retired PUP politician Florencio Marin Sr. as highly paid so-called mediator with luxurious transportation and other perks at taxpayers' expense. It took 2 rounds of highway blockage, tire burning, and further threats by cane farmers, forcing Briceño to return from a luxurious trip to Rome before a band-aid solution would eventually be applied.
Not even a band-aid, I would say a transparent tape that we can all see through on a gaping wound to try to get past the municipal elections, and then at the cost of who? At the cost of the Belizean taxpayers.
Briceño and the PUP have once again failed Belize. Our country needs new leadership. The time is now.
I'm connected. Yo.
I'm connected.
We're connected.
Create the perfect broadband bundle that fits your style with Smart Connect. With the Junior Bundle, get 50% off your national calls and up to 6 gigabytes of data at no extra cost. Get postpaid added for an additional cost of only $25 with the Prime Bundle. Stay connected with unlimited smart-to-smart calls plus 6,300 megabytes of data and free international minutes. For the family, pay $28.13 more and get the Binge Watchers bundle with Netflix. This bundle gives you 4 profiles with unlimited streaming on multiple devices. Visit a showroom near you to sign up and personalize your own bundle combination with Smart Connect. Smart, bringing people together.
The tourism high season has only just begun, but the tourist village is already buzzing with activity. Just today, Belize experienced the busiest day of the season, with 4 cruise ships boasting approximately 16,000 visitors. This year, Belize is expected to welcome as many as 950,000 tourists, according to the BTB. So, as the streets were teeming with activity, local tour operators and souvenir vendors bustled about, trying to make an honest dollar. We stepped into the middle of the morning chaos to hear from them how the season is going so far.
The tourism high season is one of the most highly anticipated times of the year, as tourism contributes to about half of the country's GDP. Within the last 2 years, Belize saw an extraordinary recovery from the COVID-19 pandemic, and according to those working in the industry, it's only getting better.
Today we have 11,000 people, I think, in the city, and it's been pretty good. A lot of the people are saying no thank you, but some of them, if you tell them what they want to hear, they will support you.
I take pictures, most of all, I take my photos with them. I dance when there's drummers out here, and I want my drummers to remember that I'm still out here, need some help. I don't want to be the only one out here to be making money, to put bread on my table. Remember, guys, it's rich culture. We need to be out here to demonstrate the culture so that other people could learn, and not only that, I'm doing this so that younger people in society, not only here in Belize as well, around this world, that they could do something positive too. Concerning the drumming, we need some drummers like out here to help me. But last year is gone, and a New Year's here, and with the grace of God, it should happen.
Although optimistic for the rest of the season to come, the smaller tour operators expressed their struggle to keep up with the competition of the bigger companies.
Compared to the last high season, it's much better, a little more business, but we still have issues like the bigger companies inside that are taking most of the jobs, so that's the main issue out here right now. But it's for business, it's been a little better this year than last year.
For the smaller tour operators like yourself out here, you find that it's a bit harder to accumulate business?
It's harder because to me, the cruise ships deal with the bigger operators, the bigger businesses, right? So we just have to know how to sell our tours, and attract people. When we do our job and they get a nice experience, they go back in and they encourage other people to come outside and go with us. Yeah.
So you're optimistic for the rest of the season?
I stay optimistic.
In spite of the hardships that come with the heavy competition, a community has formed between the members of the Tourism and Tour Operations Union, and with the support of the BTB, they are excited to keep working.
During a low season, it's very difficult to get by, but we come out here because this is our job, and we intermingle with each other daily. Sometimes we having fun, playing games, relaxing, but at the end of the day, when the time comes to work, we have to work.
And have you received any outward support from anywhere else to get through these seasons?
Oh yeah, BTB has been a very great help to all of us. They have looked out for us through the entire slow times. And just recently for the Christmas, they had also looked out for us as operators and vendors and everybody else around.
Brittany Gordon for News 5.
When we return, police Comstat figures reveal 2023 recorded 87 murders.
Are you dreaming of the ultimate home makeover? Introducing Design Depot's $25,000 Home Makeover 2024. It could be your home getting a complete transformation. Increase your chances of winning with every purchase made from now until January 31st, 2024. All while enjoying awesome deals happening store-wide. A complete transformation awaits you. Reimagined and redesigned using products from our top-of-the-line brands including Kohler, GE, Oran Windows and Doors, Sherwin-Williams Paint, and tiles from around the world. Don't just dream it, win it. Visit Design Depot today and enter to win the $25,000 Home Makeover 2024. Design Depot, all in one place.
Calling all supporters of the United Democratic Party and defenders of democracy. A lunatic, ex-convict and dictator has taken control of the UDP, expelling longtime loyalists of the party. He has gone too far. It is time to take back our party from the control of this lunatic, ex-convict and dictator.
When your own people within your party call you a lunatic and want you removed, then you know how bad it is, and you know how weak you are. In March, the UDP will ask for your votes in municipal elections. Let them know that they are not better for Belize. Let them know their talk is cheap. In March, stick with the plan that works. Stay on track with the PUP.
Yes, I give her 50 times ending, now me have to pay.
Where you going, bruh? The who they stress you out again, Namule?
Boy, I don't want to believe at the fool again.
Again?
But I mess up this time for real, for real. You really want to know?
Yes. I want here.
Can't make it a big deal.
We know what that.
I know how you going now.
Oh, man.
You really want to know?
Yeah?
Take my plan, and I give her. I take my plan, and put it in a she name.
In a she name? Wait, so tell me something. You still pay for this plan?
Yeah. But hear this. This plan, I can't left this plan. Smart Belize. This plan, I can't left this plan, yeah. This plan, I can't left this plan. Postpaid plan. This plan, I can't left this plan. Smart Belize, it's unlimited data. Smart choice plan can light up your day. Postpaid with eSIM, make everything better. Just visit Smart showrooms today. Boom! I can't left this plan. I can't left this plan. Can't left this plan. I can't left this plan. Affordable for everyone. I can't left this plan. The postpaid plan, cause the data really strong. commercial. She could left me for another man. The truth, once I have my plan, once I have my Smart Plus plan, I no worry cause the data strong. I know when the bleed, that's all I need. And you could tell me where you are, but I know I left this plan. Smart have the best services. We post a plan of everything, so you could talk and text unlimited. Come set up your group, we got share plan 1 and 2. Up to 10 friends can connect anywhere. Boom! I can't left this plan. I can't left this plan. The postpaid plan, cause the data really strong. Don't dig it down, 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 don't dig it. Smart, bringing people together.
2023 is officially history. And as we had reported in our end-of-year review, it did so with far fewer murders than in the immediate past years. Today, the top brass of the Belize Police Department sat with Minister of Home Affairs Karim Musa to discuss the 2023 crime report card. Commissioner of Police Chester Williams said the department's crime-fighting strategy worked well last year. The Compol and Minister Musa told the media how they intend to keep those figures down in 2024.
While when you look at the overall comprehensive figure for 2023 and 2022, we were dead even in terms of major crimes reported to the police. When we look at the major crimes where court actions were reported, as opposed to where court actions were not requested, we have a slight increase compared to 2022. But the most important thing, or the most important achievement for 2023 was reduction in murder, where our figure for 23 was 87 as opposed to 113 for 2022. So we have a decrease of something around 24 thereabout, or just around 23% reduction in murders when compared to 2022. So while we do celebrate our achievement for 2023, we still do believe that there's a lot that needs to be done. And today we'll be looking at our strategy to see what we can do better moving forward to make sure that we know 2024 is going to be difficult for us because the figures for 23 is so good. And when you have a good figure for the year prior, it's always difficult to beat. But we will do our best to see what we can do to make sure that we continue to keep the figures going down.
And receiving the type of statistics that we get at ComStat is not just a good measurement tool, it's also an accountability tool for each precinct and each formation. But most importantly, it is a tool to form our strategies for the coming year. Like you rightly mentioned, I think we had a very successful year, at least when it came to the reduction in murders. Certainly it's a huge achievement for Commissioner of Police and for all police officers across this country. And I take this opportunity to thank them as well as all our partners like LIU, like the business community, all of those partners that are truly engaged with us in our fight against crime. I think what we are learning from the statistics this year is that property crimes, in particular burglaries and robberies, are areas that we need to focus on. And I think that this is where each and every one of us plays a pivotal role in the fight against crime, because as neighborhood watch groups are now growing in popularity, that is where we see a lot of the success, because police officers cannot be everywhere all at once. We know that. And so we need the law-abiding citizens, which makes up 390-something thousand of us that can come together and form neighborhood watch groups within our area to report on any suspicious activity to the police officers. And the police have a responsibility to look at those blogs and to respond, because if you do not respond, that is where that relationship breaks down. And so we need to work hand in hand, police and community. And I can promise you that those property crimes would go down if we have greater participation of members of the public.
The first murder of 2024 happened early Sunday morning in Bella Vista Village, and police charged two brothers a day later for that homicide. But while the arrests of siblings Cornelio and Ernesto Martinez were swift, there have been quite a few reports out of Bella Vista and Independence that one of the brothers charged has been intimidating people with his licensed firearm, and also that the police reportedly gave them special treatment when they were detained. The family of the deceased has alleged that the police allowed the men's relatives to accompany them to the police station. But today, the Commissioner of Police said that he does not know about that allegation because no complaint of that nature has crossed his desk.
I don't know about that, and no report have ever come to my desk in respect to Mr. Martinez behaving in such a way in Independence. And this is the thing, when something happens, you hear all kind of story. Why not report it when it is happening? As far as I am concerned, there was no report against him that would have warranted his firearm license being revoked. If a matter of fact, nothing came to me about him being a tyrant or behaving in any way disorderly within the village of Independence.
We also received reports that after he was detained, he was given special treatment in that his family was there and they were all sitting around in the police station with him.
I don't know. I can't manage every police station, right? I know after he was detained, I gave instruction to the police to go and search his home, see if you have any other firearm there, if you have any, to take the firearm away, get into police custody and do what needs to be done with him. As far as I'm concerned, he committed a crime, a very heinous one, and he should be punished to the full extent of the law. I cannot say the police gave him any special treatment. I was not there. I will have to wait and see.
A man was shot in the Mayflower Street area of Belize City, otherwise known as Ghost Town, on Monday night. 30-year-old Theodore Dwyer was reportedly sitting on a chair near a basketball court through an alley off Mayflower Street when 3 unidentified male persons approached him from behind and fired multiple shots in his direction. Today, Commissioner of Police Chester Williams shared that Dwyer's condition has improved from critical.
Monday night, police responded to information of shots fired in the Ghost Town area, and upon arrival, 1 male person was found with gunshot injuries. He was taken to the hospital where he is currently admitted in a critical but stable condition. I'm happy to report that the last prognosis we got from the doctor, which was a few minutes ago, is that his condition is improving, so we're hoping that he's going to pull through.
Christmas 2023 has come and gone, but not without its share of mishaps. On December 24th, around 10:30 a.m., a female police officer reported that she and another female officer had been attacked by a group of men with dynamites. The officer claimed that she and her colleague were working at a police booth on the morning of Christmas Eve when they were approached by a group of men. She stated that she recognized one of the men to be 22-year-old Kareem Fisher, a Belize City businessman currently out on bail for the charge of being a member of a gang. The officer alleges that as the group of men approached the booth, Fisher suggested that he and his associates begin lighting the explosives, soon after which they began throwing them inside the booth. For this, Fisher was charged with 2 counts of aggravated assault. He initially pleaded guilty, but would later dispute the claims of the charge, and an unequivocal plea of not guilty was entered on his behalf. This morning, Fisher appeared unrepresented before a senior magistrate and was granted a bail of $2,000 with a surety of the same amount under the conditions that Fisher does not interfere with virtual complainants, witnesses, or their family members. He is also not to be within 50 feet of the victims. Up next, police minister says police handled sugar protests well.
Apply now for an undergraduate degree in animation, film, or journalism at the Caribbean School of Media and Communication at the University of the West Indies, Mona. For more information, visit www.mona.uwi.edu/apply.
Hola usuario de eCash, la aplicación eCash está disponible en español. Cambiar el idioma de tu aplicación de eCash de inglés a español es rápido y sencillo. Deja mostrarte cómo se hace. Primero, abre tu aplicación eCash. Introduce tu PIN. toca el icono More en la parte inferior de tu pantalla. Selecciona Security, selecciona Language y luego selecciona Spanish. Vuelve a introducir tu PIN y ya está. Tu aplicación de eCash está ahora en español y puedes seguir disfrutando de tu cartera digital eCash. La aplicación eCash de Belize Bank te hace la vida más fácil.
Earlier today, we also asked Minister Musa about the task that the police officers in the north had to carry out in dealing with protesters in the Sugar Belt. Musa said he thought that the officers' performance and approach was phenomenal, especially when compared to how they handled similar situations in previous years, when citizens were wounded by rubber bullets. Musa said it is the preferred approach when dealing with protesters going forward.
Absolutely phenomenal in my opinion, Courtney, and I think we even got the respect and appreciation of the farmers, in particular the BSCFA, in the way that police officers handled the situation out there. It is no coincidence, Courtney, again, one of the hallmarks of coming into office has been for us the reduction in the number of complaints against police officers, rogue police officers, abusive police officers. You can see a stark difference between 2023 and 2019 in terms of the number of reports against police officers, and that comes down to the very no tolerance approach that we have taken since 2020. And again, that was reflected out there. We did not have any major road blockages. I think there were some instances, but again, the police were able to peacefully, quietly, amicably have the protesters come off of the highway, and I think they handled it extremely professionally, and I want to congratulate them for that. I certainly want to commend the Commissioner of Police. He has certainly been on board with me whenever we say we cannot be exercising that kind of force. We have to exercise the greatest possible restraint in any situation. And I think moving forward, so long as there's that understanding, because that is what it comes down to, being able to communicate with the protesters, the police officers, having a full handle of the situation. And so long as you can accomplish that, then it should never reach to the point where you have that type of violence.
Earlier today, Commissioner of Police Chester Williams revealed that several officers are under suicide watch and that about 20 of them will be offered counseling. The information shared with reporters succeeds a recent suicide in Sartaneja village. Meanwhile, Minister Musa said that incidents such as PC Chan's unfortunate death and whatever might have led him to take his life are important factors that the ministry must take into account. So this year, Musa said that the welfare of officers is one that he must address.
We did get a report from our psychologists that there were a number of officers who were being watched. He continued to work with these officers to see what can be done. And just as a part of our discussion earlier with the psychologists, we have determined that we are going to order mandatory counseling and as well as mandatory alcohol rehabilitation for some officers, because there are a number of officers who are alcoholics, and I think that if we just leave it for them to volunteer rehabilitation, is not going to happen, and it is going to continue to plague us. So we'll be looking at it from a legal standpoint. The Police Act do give the Commissioner the power to order mandatory counseling or rehabilitation for those officers. So we're going to exercise the provisions in the Police Act to make sure that we do what we can to help those officers who are suffering from whatever they may be going through psychologically.
The unfortunate incident with Mr. Chan this morning, PC Chan in Sartaneja, certainly brings to the fore something that I value immensely, and that is the welfare of our police officers. And so, strategizing forward, yes, we have to come up with strategies to fight crime, but we also have to come up with strategies to make sure that our officers are happy, to make sure that they are satisfied in the work that they're doing, because at the end of the day, they are all human beings, and we oftentimes forget that they are human beings, and they suffer the same types of issues that we all do in terms of physical ailments, in terms of stress. It's a very high stress job, and so that is going to be a particular focus for our ministry in the upcoming budget, is the welfare of our officers.
Every new year, the British monarchy rewards select citizens and members of the Commonwealth in all fields of work with honours to celebrate their contributions to society, community, or their area of employment. This is known as the King's New Year's Honours List. And this year, a couple residing in Belize has been granted the title of members of the Order of the British Empire for their remarkable conservation work in Sartaneja. We spoke with Paul and Zoe Walker, directors of Wildlife Rehabilitation Centers, WildTracks, for more information.
WildTracks was founded way back in 1990. It was originally an environmental education organization, but over the years, we've taken on more of a conservation role. Both in terms of wildlife rehabilitation, working with endangered species, and also with protected areas, conservation planning, wherever we're able to help out for conservation in Belize.
So did it start in Belize, or was it founded in the UK and brought here?
No, it's definitely 100% Belize organization. It was founded in Belize and has been active since 1990. It was a complete surprise, and we feel really honored that the work that we do has been appreciated, and that we've been awarded the honor as well. But at the same time, WildTracks is all about collaborations. So it's a tribute to the work of our partners, of the government of Belize. It's not something that WildTracks has achieved on its own over the time that we've been in Belize. So congratulations to all the partners out there as well.
And that's the news. Tonight's broadcast is available at channel5belize.com, on our Facebook and YouTube. I'm Sabrina Daly. Thanks for joining us. And from all of us here at News 5, good night.